Welcome to Annals of the Irish. In the 19th century, there were people of Ireland who were in poverty, and because of this, the government at the time in Westminster in 1838 wrote Whigs, and the Poor Law, as somewhat a copy of the English Poor Law in 1834, was voted on the 21st of July, and what it produced? More reforms. Workhouses were in Ireland since the 1700s by the Irish Parliament, and further reforms continued even with the Act of Union 1801. The 1838 provisions of the Act extend the already existing Poor Law Commissioners' powers in Ireland, their division of the country into poor law unions based on Irish electoral divisions, which themselves made up of townlands, the creation of a board of guardians for each union. Two-thirds were elected, while the other third appointed by ex officio, setting up workhouses for each union, collect poor rates to finance the system, and assist immigration. 130 unions were created and based on 2,049 electoral divisions. The Board of Guardians were elected annually on the 25th of March, and only the ratepayers were eligible for election, and the ratepayers had 1 or 6 votes, but depended on the size of the valuation of the property. But what is the difference between the Irish and English poor laws? Out of relief was not allowed in Ireland. Poor law commissioners had more control over operations in the Irish unions. Ireland could not send English destitute back to England, but England could send the Irish destitute back to Ireland. The clergy was not allowed to be members of the Board of Guardians. In 1839, the new workhouse building project began in January with the arrival of George Wilkinson in Dublin because he designed the workhouses in England and Wales. Within 2 months, the model plans for the workhouses, which will in capacity will have 800 inmates, with the workhouse separating men and women, men in one part of the workhouse and the women in the other. The Board of Guardians lived in their own rooms upstairs with dormitories on either side, also a storeroom for inmate clothes in the attic. The workhouse construction was completed by 1843, with 112 with another 18 to be completed. But that doesn't mean they were operational, since the Board of Guardians weren't able or willing to collect poor rates. For example, Westport in 15 November 1842, the workhouse was fit to be opened, but there was no sufficient funds to open it. For 2 years, the Board of Guardians tried to gain funds, which the police and the army had to be called to help. Eventually, board members resigned and new guardians were elected, but the workhouse was finally opened on the 5th of November 1845 by court order. Because of this, poor law commissioners can, as a last resort, dissolve the Board of Guardians and install vice guardians to open the workhouse. But the workhouse wasn't a place to stay in, since it had miserable conditions like dormitories cramped, poor ventilation, the beds were platforms of planks with a straw mattress and covered by rags. The water, there wasn't enough, and the toilet at night, the urination tub was often overflowing. The rules set out in the workhouse in Ireland are a copy of the rules of England and Wales, which were introduced by the Poor Law Commissioners in 1844. But what was the diet? Oatmeal and the milk for breakfast, while dinner was potatoes and milk.